Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on October 8th, 2017, our 100th episode, and it's titled Signposts on the Road to the Future, affirming I do my part in bringing forth all that I am. And today we welcome back the talent of Gia Cambodi, who can be found on our Facebook page from our website for this particular episode. And, of course, you're always welcome to visit us at our shiny new website at seasidecenter.org. And you can join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you.
It's my honor, as it is every Sunday, to introduce our guest artist. But that was so great to hear that, actually, from the Crawfords, because now it's like we can bring more people, keep sharing the message. I love it. So our guest artist, we love her so much. She was so great when she makes the drive down from Los Angeles to be here with us. And she's just a wonderful spirit, wonderful person with an incredible gift of singing. And she does have CDs if you're moved by her music, so please see her after the service. I did want to share a couple things. So she actually just recently recorded in the studio that's part of a commercial that I don't know if it's out already or coming out, but it's with Cher. So she actually is singing in a commercial. So if you see a commercial with Cher, you hear a beautiful voice. One of those voices is our very own Gia Cambodi. So, and I just learned she's actually in Prac 1 school. So excited to hear that as well. So awesome to be, growing in the movement as well. So anyway, without further ado, please help me welcome Gia Cambodi.
I haven't even told my family. Come on. Oh, wait, you are my family. I'm supposed to count this off? Good morning. I'm thinking of the other song. What am I doing? And it goes like this. Baby, don't look down. It's a long way. You're up so high. When you look around, can fly. Baby, there are changes happening in your soul right now, and it make your whole world feel like it's out of control. Yeah. If you're sinking low, it's time to remember. She will lift you up so you can see your dreams as they unfold and visualize the future they hold. Trade your pony for some wings and listen when your heart sings. When your heart sings, yeah, check it out. I saw you made some plans, it didn't work out. You can let them go, and they make you cry just a little. Ooh, when you don't know, when you can hold your head up and see. Every time you let go of something, don't you know something else comes around? Ooh, if you're sinking low, you got to remember. Just remember, keep remembering. Roll with the wind. 'Cause spirit will lift you up so you can see your dreams. Visualize the future when your heart sings. Don't you know you can smile with your heart? Oh, the little song gonna play loud, gonna make you feel strong, yeah. Gonna sing on, gonna make you. Don't you know we are God's dream? God had a dream and made it me, and made it you, and made it we. Ooh, yeah. Don't you know, don't you know? Don't you know, don't you know? Gonna see your dreams, gonna see your dreams. Woo, 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 ah, yeah. Got a dream, I'm a dreamer. Come on and dream, yeah. Just gotta show up, you just gotta show up. Gotta show up, come on. Gotta be in the dream. Cause it's real as it seems. You know you're God's dream. You know I'm God's dream. Come on. Woo, woo, yeah. Gotta see your dream.
That is Jimbati being God's dream. Woo! My, oh my. I'm so glad, man. God dreamed that as you. Woo! Oh, man, it's just hot up here. I feel like bouncing. I don't need much of that. I got enough that one. Woo! A little warm over there, huh? Oh, wow. That was a great one. I really like that. It's moving through me. That's perfect. Let's see. We're wrapping up Jean Houston's book here today. We're on her last chapter of Jump Time, and it's about the signposts on the road to the future. And, what signposts are you reading? What is it that you're focusing on? Do you like what you see? Do you not like what you see? What are you doing about that? And being God's dream, that song's still going through me. It's like, Gio's just so outside the norm of songstress around here, and I just love it. And I heard it once said that never allow the norm to be the baseline for what's possible. Got that? Because usually the norm is the baseline for what's impossible. You got that? So when you're using the norm, this is how people do it. You're not going to go beyond that. But as you begin to realize, you know what? There's something inside of me that is more than that. And I got to go outside this baseline. I got to begin to stretch to begin to experience the impossible. Because people haven't been there yet doesn't mean it's impossible. Ernest Holmes talks about not allowing your future to be bound by precedent. You cannot allow the precedent to stop you when you have this something stirring in your soul that wants to express itself. You got to listen to those signposts that are within your being. Say, keep going, keep going. A classic line from Alice in Wonderland where Lewis Carroll has the Red Queen saying to Alice, why, sometimes I have believed in 6 impossible things before breakfast. When was the last time you thought of 6 impossible things before breakfast? Me, it's pretty late by now. I've been up since 3 a.m. I've been talking. But I got to tell you, I truly believe that it is possible that we have a world that works for everyone. I believe that is a world where peace can prevail. I believe that truly our children can live in a world that is safe for them. That we, as Callie was talking about last night with 150 people here for that big event, that, that we can actually give our children's grandchildren an earth that is healthier when they inherit it than when we got it. I believe that our schools can be a place where there is creativity in the arts and self-expression, that truly Seaside is a thriving spiritual community that works for everyone, where our children are fed and loved, where we come to heal and expand our vision of what is possible. All before breakfast. And so what you get in life are some of the the guideposts that say, hey, you're on track or you're not on track. And what is it and how is it that you're looking at? Because I'll tell you what, I've got people, or I hear people, or I've done it myself, that there's a belief that it's impossible, which kind of just seals the deal before you even get going. They say, oh yeah, I believe in this. And then they go out and act as if they do kind of believe in it. And they'll do the affirmations, and they'll do the meditations, and talk the talk, and look at their vision board 3 times a day. But inside there's something that doesn't believe that it is possible. What it takes for you to do is go beyond the baseline, to go beyond the norm, is to believe that there is something that is possible here, even when the world is telling you it's not. It is up to you to choose to believe in something greater, to be that place of the divine download, because it is difficult to believe sometimes when the things are pointing in a different way. This week, Las Vegas. What a shock. Horrendous. Very sad, and it breaks my heart, and my love, my heart goes out to those that lost their life, to the family of those who lost people, to those that have been hurt and impacted, many whose lives will never be the same. It is absolutely sad. And what signposts are we looking at there? Because I don't think that it is just something that happened because some shooter decided he needed to take out whatever it was. But rather, I believe that what's going on in our world is a result of a consciousness. Like in our body, if something's out of balance there, it tells you. And if you don't listen, it gets louder, right? If you don't listen, you get sicker. And if you don't listen, you really get whacked over the head. Well, I'll tell you what's going on as a guidepost. What took place in Las Vegas is there's something that's in consciousness that exploded like this. It is something that's saying, you know what, we're living in a culture of violence. We're living in a culture of anger. We're living in a time when a congressman running for office this year in Montana can punch a reporter who's asking him questions and still be elected to the office. We are living in a gun culture here in the U.S. Our country was built on a gun culture, the Wild West. We walk into the saloon with our gun on our side. Aren't I cool? Bigger ego, more powerful. That's what seems to win around here. But you know what? That is not the culture that's going to bring peace to our planet. It's not going to bring resolution. It's not going to assist our children. It is going to fester until we begin to look at it and say, you know what? Something different has to go into consciousness here. If somebody can create a horrendous and hideous crime and everybody knows this individual's name, and there's hundreds of heroes from that day. Hundreds, literally, heroes. How many of their names do we know? Those that threw their bodies on their loved ones to protect them. Hundreds of heroes. We're talking about the one deranged thing. We've got to listen to our heart and our soul, begin to look at the guideposts and recognize that something needs to shift in the collective consciousness, and that it begins with myself. And as I begin to embrace it, I got to realize my anger cannot control my decisions. That I will not allow fear to dominate my life and take me away from living in a sense of joy, in a sense of happiness, in a sense of trust, in a sense of love. The signpost for me is, you know what, there's danger here, and it means that I need to come out in trust and love and light, because the darkness cannot stay if there is light. And if we are choosing to be bearers of light at this time, we will make a significant difference, because the answer here is spiritual. And that looks like moving through our hands, our heart, our hands, and our feet. It means it's moving through us to speak out. I mean, how... I look at machine guns. I'll just speak it out here. Whose really their sole purpose is to kill human beings in war-torn areas. Its sole purpose. How in the world can our congressmen fight to keep that in our hands? As we begin to take a look at the signposts that say, hey, take a look, and say, hey, let's talk about this. And you got people say, oh, this isn't the time to talk about it. I mean, it's like a controlling parent. Your heart's broken. This is not the time to talk. You bet when your heart is broken, that is the time to talk, to feel, to go deep with our emotions and say, what's going on here? It's not one person. It is the tip of a collective consciousness that says, if you don't listen to this, it's going to get louder. That is right. And so it's time for us to speak that. And so we're the ones who got to create the space for Spirit to show up. When we get caught up in our anger, our resentment, our anxiety, we want to control the situations and the outcomes and the thinking and the thought and not have the conversations that push us into areas that we're uncomfortable. All of a sudden, what we're doing is we're not creating room for God to show up. You got that? If you have got anxiety, you've got worry, and you're trying to hold things in place and not be present, you don't have the space for God or the presence or the higher thought or the greater possibility that is beyond the norm or the baseline heretofore. We've got to open our hearts and our souls and become available to the presence of God for a shift to take place. Because there is a shift that has to take place, and it can be instant. Remember, it's an old story about a woman who was at the airport, waiting for a plane, and she got herself a bag of chocolate chip cookies, a little bag of chocolate chip cookies, and she started eating it, and she thought she'd like some coffee. So she left her bag and her cookies and went and grabbed some coffee. And as she came back, she saw this disheveled guy, looking kind of homeless kind of guy, sitting there eating her cookies. It's like, excuse me. And so she sat down and she just took a cookie from him and ate it. And then he took a cookie and he ate it. And she took a cookie and he ate it, or she ate it, and he took it until they got down to the last cookie. And he got the last cookie and he split it in half and he gave it to her. And she was just disgusted. You're splitting the last, it's my cookies. And so, she got up in a huff, boarded the plane, sat down, buckled in, got into her carry-on baggage, grabbed her book, and there behind her book was her bag of cookies. She had been eating this disheveled, homeless-looking guy's cookies, and he was so gracious about it, willing to share with her in her dirty looks and her dismay and her vibes with this guy. You don't think that instantly shifted her around? But I got to tell you, you get rid of your vibe. You get rid of your fear. You get rid of your anger and your disgust. What happens is the light shows up. Love shows up. Happiness shows up. You don't have to put them there. What you just have to do is create space for it. And then you begin to get these signposts. Say, wow, I'm feeling better. Whoa, things are moving in the right direction. I am sitting next to one of my brothers here. Yeah. But you have to be open to the possibilities, because you're dealing with your life, but you're dealing with a collective consciousness that impacts all of us. And I've got to tell you what, we're moving forward in life. Jean Houston, in her book on jump time, from the last chapter we're working with, she talks about catching a vision 60 years out of the world that we live in. So that would make it 2077. That's kind of cool era. I should write a book, 2077. Anyway, but it's being open to possibilities. It doesn't mean you have to go with every possibility, but are you open to the possibilities of something greater? She said, would we discover a world ruled in 2077? Okay, so would we discover a world ruled under some form of planetary governance, with nations as states within a world federation? Okay, sounds like Star Wars, huh? Would the stress of overpopulation have driven humanity out into space as seedlings of stars? Would human lives be vastly longer, our cells linked to machines, our minds capable of merging with vast knowledge banks? Would science have shifted its paradigm from machines to living organisms? Would we have win-win world where almost everyone had access to the physical and spiritual nourishment, education, and opportunities? So here's the big thing that goes with that. Whether you agree with where it's going or not, or whether it's going there or not, are you open to explore those? Here's the big thing. Whatever it will be, and whatever will be there in the future owes everything to what we do today. So here's some questions. How then can we as jump time players contribute toward the regenesis of society? What can we do to help create a social order in service to life rather than to the economic forces? And here was Callie's question the other night with 150 people. She said, What is the world that we would like our great-grandchildren to inherit? Are you open to be used? Because we are in a time of regenesis, repatterning, redoing, refreshing, realigning. Something needs to change or it's going to get louder. The signposts are there. Are we paying attention? Hey, I don't want to go this way anymore. So you know what? I'm going to change. It's not like that big of a deal. I'm just going to shift and move over in this direction. How do I do that? I open up. I create space for the divine download to show me something new. And one of the exercises Jean does in her classes and her workshops is about getting you in touch with that space that is really beyond clock time. Her exercise is she has you go into the subjective, and she starts off by taking a minute and having you sit there in your subjective, opening up to your activities, your travels, your ideas, the people, and see how much you can actually experience in that minute in the subjective, which seems a lot longer than a minute of clock time. And then as you develop that, you begin to move it into 5 minutes, and you work with it to develop your skills. Like athletes will do it, performers, artists, entrepreneurs, inventors. They go into that space and they begin to create a lot in that short amount of time. They are no longer victims to time, but rather players in time. So I was saying, you want to try just the 1 minute side of that? You want to give that a shot? Okay. All right, then. Then just relax. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. We're going to take 1 minute in the subjective. Breathe in. And as you exhale, just allow your inner space to see your activities, the events, the things you enjoy, your travel, your ideas, your business. Just take a minute and allow these images to come to your field of awareness and allow them to flesh out, fill out. Did it feel expansive? Did it feel like it was more than a minute? I didn't even get to 60 and I'm counting up here. But that's what begins to happen as we play in those inner dimensions. You begin to have fuller experience in a shorter amount of time. You can take care of a month's worth of projects in a few minutes, maybe. But, that's what we want to do, is learn to go there and not be the victims of the time crunch that we are in, but rather we can plan out, see, experience, and a fuller experience. That's what athletes will do, shooting hoops over and over and over in the mind and the consciousness and get out on the court. I mean, you still got to get your hand, you still got to do the actions, but all of a sudden you are in sync with something. But not only do we want to work on the inner space, Jean feels it's valuable for us to also work on the outer and develop our skills in our mind and our consciousness. And she says what's essential or important or a good practice is to learn 2 new skills every year. That's not a lot, is it? Though I've been working on Spanish a lot more than a year, but it keeps the brain engaged for sure. And I'm contemplating learning a new computer program. Don't tell anybody around like Ed around here, but that would be a couple new things. What something new could you do? I know Callie's taken up cross-country skiing, developing a new skill. I've thought about art and sculpting and clay and big carvings with wood and bears and tree trunks and what is it that would keep you engaged and active and alive and dynamic? So the signposts keep coming up, and life is good, life is new, life is exciting, life is dynamic. Count me in for that direction, God. I'm not going to sit there with the headlines, the worry, the anxiety, the fear that continues to pull one into the death spiral, but rather I'm going to open up to what is possible, and I will find my whole being repatterning. It is right. Here's scientific proof to that. A psychologist, Dr. Ellen Langer, did an experiment with a bunch of old guys. And she found these guys who were in their prime in the 50s. And she rented a retreat center and went retro. She turned it totally back into the 50s. I mean, it had Life magazines with what was going on in that era. Saturday Evening Post was there, had the radio playing Nat King Cole and Cole Porter, and had Walter Cronkite coming out on the black and white TV. The couches were from that era. The pictures were from that era. The conversations the guys had was about Khrushchev and Castro's Oprah's rise to power and Mickey Mantle and just it was totally in that. And at the end of the 5-day retreat in which these guys hung out, spoke together, they did a measurement. And they compared it to their being measured going into these 5 days. And at the end of the 5 days, they measured their height, their weight, their flexibility, their mental capacities, their sight, the sound, and all of them increased by at least 63%. They even became taller as they stretched their spine, as they became more alive. We have that proof that there is responsiveness in the physical form that says, you know what? Yes, bring life back into this body, and you will find a path that is exciting, dynamic, and wonderful. But you're the one who has to have that shift. You can't stick with the baseline that says, hey, that's impossible. Man. You're over the hill. Yeah. Okay. You know, your future is not bound by the precedent. You know, did you believe in 6 impossible things before breakfast? Yeah. I don't eat until 1 on Sunday, so I still got a lot more to fill in my thinking. I remember growing up, my dad was my hero. He was invincible. We'd walk out in the woods at night. I'd hold my dad's hand, and I don't care. There could be hoodlums or bears. I knew I was safe with my dad. He was just superhuman. And when I was little, he'd throw me up in the air like, you know, most dads do and catch. I never thought about him dropping. You know, as only as I used to throw Trevor up there. And I thought, Dad, man, that was like pretty dangerous stuff. But, you know, for the most part, unless our dad was Superman or mom Superwoman, you know, it's like at some point, we're probably not being thrown up in the air anymore. Something has shifted and you know, parents aren't quite as invincible as the 3-year-old thought they once were. You know, and if you grew up with Christmas, there was this jolly old dude who brought gifts, and something shifted at some point where that belief began to change. Except in me, I still get stockings, so I believe. But what I'm getting at here is that we have the ability to shift a belief that we believed so much in. And that's what needs to happen if we want to change the signposts. And hopefully you're paying attention to the signposts, which is a reflection of the consciousness, your personal collective consciousness. It's not just usually one simple belief that says, oh yeah, everything's well, when you've had a lot of experience saying it's not. It's something inside of you that has got to stir and move and groove and expand. And as it does, you begin to contribute to the collective consciousness. You know, the quantum physicist tells us that we live in a holographic universe. You ever hear that one? Some of you. Okay, that's a book, Talbert. But anyway, if we're living in this holographic cosmos, holographic universe, it means that if something takes place anywhere, it shows up everywhere. That's what holographic is. You know, you take a little piece and it has the whole, and you break up a holographic image. Even the little piece has the totality of it all. So anything that happens in anywhere happens everywhere. That is the dynamic gift that you are bringing when you're willing to shift your consciousness and move from fear to faith, when you're willing to create a space for a greater understanding and insight to show up because you have chosen to sat for a couple minutes in the subjective field, being receptive to spirit with a greater idea of what is possible. You are open up to that force of nature that you can't see, but we know it's there. I mean, I know it's there. I see it all around. I just saw some images from our place in Costa Rica, devastated by the rains and the water from Nate that went through there. I mean, not our place, but our place, the front yard's all underwater. People are walking through the driveways halfway up their calves. You know, the ocean is wild and meeting the estuary. The power's been out. The water's gone. Water's coming in our ceiling and our front walls and ceilings. It's pretty crazy, but, you know, nothing to those that were caught in the mudslides and the bridges are out. It was hit the hardest it's been. And got this palm tree in our front yard that usually has coconuts on it. And it has no coconuts on it. It experienced the forces of nature and they're gone. But you know what? There's something inside of me that knows that knows how to produce more coconuts. That coconuts are going to multiply. And I don't think it's because the tree knows. I think there's a force of nature that moves through the tree, as the tree is the tree. And we don't really know what that is, but we call it a force of nature. We can't see it. It's invisible, but we can definitely feel it and sense it and see it. And, you can't make a coconut happen. I don't care if you have the billions of Buffett, you still can't make a coconut happen. You may think you can buy them at the store or grow them, but there's a force of nature. There's a life force. There's an invisible something that is moving, and it moves through you and it moves through us, but we've got to be open to the possibilities. And those possibilities, yes, are like vitamins. They are, take that, yeah, man, I'm going there. Now, it may not get me all the way to where I'm going, but you know what? It moves me from where I was over there. All of a sudden, I'm filled with the excitement, the energy, the passion, the something that gets me moving and grooving so I can begin to be used by the presence of God. And you can use this force of nature to support and magnify the anxiety, the fear, and the headlines. Or you can begin to open up and say, if Spirit is omnipresent, it's right here, then what do I need to know here? What is trying to be spoken to me? It's easy to blame someone, something, but it is a result of something else, always. But what happens is we get pointed, and this is the problem. Yes, you need to eradicate the immediate cause, but there's something deeper behind that. And as you get quiet, you begin to see it, you begin to sense it. And so I've got an assignment for you this week. Actually, it was Jean's assignment, and it's how she ends her book. But, she has us envision the earth. Things really changed to jump time in the 60s. When the astronauts went out and they took the picture of our earth from outer space for the first time. It's the first time we looked at being looked at. We realize that it's one planet we're sharing. It really doesn't have borders from outer space. It is one planet, one people, and we're sharing this together. In the 60s is when the ecology groups really started taking off. It's when we started hugging trees and kissing the ground and attempting to save the whales and other species going extinct. Something happened there, but it also happened in the human force where we started to take a stance for peace. We began to respect life in a greater way. We began to open our hearts and try to understand in a new kind of a way. And so what Jean asks us to do, and this is your assignment, I can't have you do it now. If it's class, I'd have you go outside, but when you leave here today, I want you to, sometime this afternoon, to lie down on Gaia, good old Mother Earth, and just feel the pulse and the vibration. When you look from space, you could almost feel the earth alive and pulsing through the asphalt and avenues and the urban jungles and the concrete forests of downtowns. All of a sudden, you could begin to realize that there's something alive that's there. I want you to lie down on the ground and feel that aliveness. I want you to feel that which is beyond the norm, because there is no baseline when you open up to the infinite, because there is no norm. We are all unique expressions, equal in our gifts to bring to humanity who we are. I want you to feel on that ground as if you are wrapped in the womb of the divine, that you are matrixed and mothered into a greater expression of who you are, that truly this is a moment for which you have been called, and that you can become recharged, remembered, and realigned, and regenesis, and repatterned, and enlivened to step out into the world when people are in their fear, that you get to bring the light, because you have been called here for a time such as this, and it's up to us to do it. And Mother Earth will remind you who you are. I love you. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring Gia back to our stage.
Eternal self is the starlight in the sky, is the twinkle in my eye, and the mischief in my smile. Your eternal self is a mystery to behold, always ageless, never old, wiser than you'll ever know. I am knowing. Spirit is closer than your hands and feet, is in everyone you meet, holy, perfect, and complete. My indwelling Spirit is the sweet, still voice inside, sees me with a loving eye, dries up every tear I've cried. I am knowing, knowing. In my heart, I am knowing, knowing. Oh, some call them angel voices inside. How are you guided? And I have come to keep expanding to a higher height. Ooh, a brighter light. Yeah. Hey, 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 yeah. Some call them angel voices inside. Tell me, how are you guided? I'll come to keep expanding to a higher height, to a brighter light. I am knowing, knowing. Deep in the stillness, I am knowing. Don't you know, knowing. In our hearts, we are knowing, always knowing. See it in your smile, in your style, in your free, where you walk, yeah. We are knowing. From a little child to an old man, we are knowing. Come on, wisdom is just knowing the coconuts, knowing the tree is knowing. Every day the earth is knowing, and we are the earth knowing. We are knowing. Oh yeah, knowing. In our hearts we're knowing. When we smile, when we laugh, when we cook, when we don't you know, we're just knowing. Walk as if we know, talk as if we know now. 'Cause the knowing is knowing, yeah. We are knowing.
That is Gia Jambati. Woo! Man, she knew it today. So did we. That was just incredible. And Gia, you were like on fire today. That was just, both of them were just, so good. I like that.